All right, today's lesson is modeling with linear systems. Many real-life applications can come from linear systems. Let's look at a few examples. Paul has $1.10 in nickels and dimes. He has a total of 16 coins altogether. Exactly how many nickels and dimes does Paul have? Well, you can identify the variables first to solve this equation. We're only dealing with nickels and dimes. So instead of using X and Y, I'm going to use N and D, where N represents the number of nickels. And D represents the number or the amount of dimes. And what you have here is two equations. You have two situations. One that deals with how much the coins amount to. So we know that a nickel is 5 cents per coin. So 5 cents per nickel plus 10 cents per dime. We know that amount has to equal $1.10. And then we have quantity. We have exactly 16 coins. So the amount of nickels plus the amount of dimes must equal 16. And this is the system that we have to solve to figure out the amount of nickels and dimes each. Okay, so we want to solve that system of equations. So we have 0.05 that represents 5 cents per dime. We had 10 cents, 5 cents per nickel, 10 cents per dime. That has to equal $1.10. And we know that the total amount of coins has to total 16. I would change the top equation so it'll be easier to work with. If you multiply that whole equation by 10, you can wind up with whole numbers. So let's do that. If I multiply by 10, I get 5n plus 10d equals 110. And the bottom equation stays the same. And what you can do is set this up to where you can use elimination. You can multiply the bottom equation by -5 and you can eliminate the n variable. So if I did that, I would get -5n, -5d, and if I multiply this by -5, I'm going to wind up with -80. So that's +5. All right. So when you add these together, you eliminate the n variable, and you wind up with 5d equals 30. And if you divide both sides by 5, you know that the amount of dimes has to equal 6. And you can plug that into the second equation. And you can figure out the amount of nickels. So you have n plus 6 equals 16. If I subtract 6 to both sides, the amount of nickels has to be 10. So we know there are exactly 6 dimes and 10 nickels. All right, at a high school homecoming game, 1,200 tickets were sold. Student tickets cost $1.50 each, and adult tickets cost $5 each. The total revenue collected for the game was $3,200. How much of each tickets were sold? All right, so you have to look at the two variables you have here. So we have two tickets. We're talking about the number of tickets. We have student tickets and we have adult tickets. And we want to know the amount of both. So I'm going to say X. I'm going to let that represent the number of student tickets. And I'm going to let Y represent the number of adult tickets. All right, so we know that there were 1,200 tickets sold. So we know that the amount of student tickets plus the amount of adult tickets has to equal 1,200. And then you have to look at the costs. Each student costs $1.50. Each adult ticket costs $5. And the total revenue collected was $3,200. So this is our setup. This is what you want to solve to figure out the amount of adult tickets and the amount of student tickets. Okay, so you want to adjust this, or you can add it straight across, or use substitution. So I have this equation. And what I can do is I can adjust the top equation so I can eliminate the one of the variables. I see a 5y here, so if I multiply the top equation by -5, I can eliminate the y variable. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And if I do that, I'm going to get -5y. -5x minus 5y equals -6,000. And we're going to add it to this equation here. Okay, so you add this, you're going to wind up with -3.5x. The y variables are eliminated. And you're going to get -2,800 here. And you're going to divide both sides by -3.5. And if you divide 3.5 into 2,800, you're going to wind up with 800. And the negatives cancel out. So we know that there are 800 student tickets. And now what you want to do is plug this in to the top equation and figure out how many adult tickets there were. So we know that there are 800 student tickets. And remember, the original equation we had, the amount of both tickets was 1,200. If we know this is 800, you just subtract 800 to both sides. So that means the adult tickets were 400. So you had 800 student tickets and 400 adult tickets. All right, this concludes our lesson for today.